All right, everybody. Hey, it's Sherri Johnson with Sherri Johnson Coaching, and we are live. We are with such a great guest today that is going to just absolutely help us understand so many things out there in the artificial intelligence space that actually will help you grow your business, is what I'm excited about. Again, it's Sherri Johnson. I'm here with David Tamm. And David, welcome to the show today. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, first time. I'm super excited. Thanks, Sherri.
Well, and we got connected through my awesome producer, and I know you do a lot of consulting and help with real estate agents trying to understand the world of artificial intelligence, AI, and also in how to do website optimization. So there's a lot of really great sort of way over all of our heads in terms of real estate agents' brains. But this session, I believe today, is going to give us the ability to sort of break it down into layman's terms, understand how to leverage it and use it to create more opportunities, if I'm not mistaken. So first of all, do me a favor. And would you tell everybody just where you're from in the country, your background, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So David Tamm, I'm currently just outside of Denver in a little place called Westminster, Colorado. And background is, my goodness, well, I started in restaurants, got kicked out of CU Boulder at age 24 for partying too hard, and was like, what am I going to do with my life? And I decided I was going to join the Air Force. And my goodness, best decision ever. I enlisted, loved it, became an officer, became an aviator, did combat deployments, and spent 9.5 years serving our country, which, seriously, like just took my whole life and took it to the next level, which it was such an honor. So got out of that as a captain and helped my brother start FirePoint Solutions. So firepoint.net, one of the largest real estate CRMs in the country. So grew that baby from nothing to getting it acquired, and learned just an absolute ton about MLS architecture and how data is aggregated and analyzed in the country with respect to real estate. That's where I fell in love with marketing, of really understanding, how we can leverage digital and non-digital assets to get more business for the real estate agent, for the broker, the team leader, and I got invited to go to Google headquarters and spend some time there in a little think tank, some inside track of what's going on, with algorithm changes, with connections there. After that, after the acquisition of FirePoint, we were like, well, what can we do to bring the most value to the market? Because we really enjoy the real estate industry. That's where we decided, well, we're going to start a consulting firm, right? Which was Cast Services. So if you go to cast.services, that's us. It kind of started as a digital marketing firm, building websites and doing lead gen and SEO and all this kind of stuff. And it has evolved over the last 3 years to be a tech company, of us actually leveraging all kinds of crazy stuff like AI and analytics and machine learning to better serve the real estate industry. And then my brother broke off and started Ownership Financial. We're still linked. We talk every single day. But that's Ownership Mortgage and Ownership Insurance. They're joint venture mortgage and insurance models in, I believe, 27 states now or something like that. So
that's awesome.
We're fast movers, and we've got our hands in a lot of different, technology in the real estate space. So that's me. I've got a little corgi that I was telling you about. Her name's Lola. She's beautiful. She's running around here somewhere. And my wife's in the other room on a Zoom call for her work. She does cancer research. Her name is Madison. She's fantastic. So that's me. What questions do you have?
That's awesome. And, I want to just point out FirePoint is a huge player that you have sold, right? Is that my understanding?
Yeah, we got it. It's acquired. So it's currently in somebody else's hands. We still are a large common shareholder. You know what I mean? And
that is congratulations. That I have watched that company. I mean, I'm really impressed that I'm interviewing you. Like, this is really cool stuff. So you have the experience, the knowledge to talk to us about this. All right. So would you first help everybody understand what is artificial intelligence?
Sure.
Before we go any further, just kind of break that down for us. What is AI? What is artificial intelligence? And how do we see it every day? Because we all see it. And
right.
we don't even know we're using it.
and the term gets thrown around oftentimes, erroneously, just because it's a sexy thing to attach to a name. Say, oh, we use AI. There are off the shelf, over the counter AI engines that you can plug into just about any digital platform or solution today. Okay, and it all started with actually machine learning. When we're talking about, I want to train a program to do a certain set of tasks and then give me feedback and allow that task to be refined and iterate over time, which that kind of builds into what is neural networks of trying to create a model to process data and solve problems, actually modeled after our neural structure of our brains, by having different nodes that can interface with each other to allow processing of information at a much faster pace for much harder problems, if that makes sense. So essentially, it's a force multiplier of what the current human brain can do in the digital space. And so we see, artificial intelligence being used in the pharmaceutical industry to develop new drugs, because, they can process, troves of data in the snap of a finger, opposed to us doing everything by, like hand or traditional programming language, right? And so where we see that really impacting in the real estate space is digital marketing, digital solutions, optimization and automation for a lot of tasks. And there's a lot of players that are developing, programs out there and devoting resources to artificial intelligence in the real estate space. Is that layman's term enough, or do we need to break it down a little bit more?
Well, so why don't you give an example of something that we do every day that we may not realize is being done with AI?
Okay, I'm going to name drop Structurally, right? So they were one of the first players in the AI chatbot space of wanting to be able to give a solution to the market that was better than just a chatbot, right? That actually could interact with you and use NLP and use more advanced training to serve the client, your client, right? The home buyer and the seller. And that is just the very, very beginning. I mean, we're talking like, when computers used to take up an entire room, and now we have a supercomputer literally like in our pocket every single day.
Yes.
AI is truly accelerating beyond, I think, what Moore's Law expected. In fact, that like it's going to be a completely different game in the next 90 days. I mean, literally, what's happened in the last 6 months in the field of AI with respect to the real estate space is mind-boggling. And so it's like, yeah, you hear it, you see it, but you're going to really start to feel it, in this next year for sure.
And one of the topics we're going to talk about is website optimization.
Yeah.
And best practices. Before we get into that and a couple other digital marketing stuff, again, a lot of stuff is all new topics to us.
Sure.
I feel like I use artificial intelligence. Well, and you're right. It gets used erroneously because we've sort of all just labeled it artificial intelligence. When in fact, I feel like in my world, trying to identify the persona of our client base, right? If we're looking at what does the buyer look like, what does the seller look like, and then how to electronically, or whatever the right word is, map that out in a way that identifies people in digital marketing. Some of you are doing this right now when you are using Facebook to find people, right? Is that an example of this?
Yeah, definitely. And so the building of lookalike audiences in social media as a method for marketing that goes years back, before AI was even really a big player in the space. We use it today to look at consumer behavior, right? Because let's just be very clear, your phone is transmitting data about you and your behavior, your location, 24/7, right? And that data is being bought and sold on the open market, right? And marketers like me who do this, I'm a chief marketing officer, by trade. That's my passion is marketing. Is we access that data to really try and get in front of the consumer based off of, well, listen, if somebody's put a wall mount for a television in their home in the last 6 months, chances are they're not going to be selling, right? With 98% accuracy. And when we aggregate that with credit scores and income and the amount of children in the home and how often they leave the home and how many times they've been to Home Depot and all these other signals, which are for purchase, we can really hone down who's looking to buy or sell within a certain time period with extreme amounts of accuracy. And then we can use that list to go after them on social media, on email marketing, direct marketing, even terrestrial marketing is possible with satellite-fed geofencing. So yeah, I mean, it's clear and present right now.
You just like exploded my brain. I don't know about anybody else, but I was with you, and then you said like extraterrestrial something or whatever.
No,
I was like, oh my God, we just went like we went into space right there. That was awesome. And I was like,
the terrestrial. So when we're
like,
talking
wow.
about like terrestrial marketing, like we're doing mailers and we've got billboards, and it's things that are in the ground potentially that we're doing manually, opposed to the digital interface of social marketing or digital radio or connected TV, those kinds of things.
Which is kind of I have not heard that term before. It's all so awesome. I always wonder, like, agents still don't understand what search engine optimization is. And it's like, oh my goodness. So before we go in, we're going to go in there just real quick here. Mm-hmm. All that data is available. And when you said the guy or person who's like, putting a wall mount of a TV and having all this information so quickly. And this is how companies can say these people are probably going to move. And that's what I heard from that whole awesome thing you just said, is that we can make predictions. We can help get in front of these potential consumers at the right time when they're going to be looking to buy or sell. Now, I have a question. Could that person be updating their house?
Sure. Yeah, totally.
And putting it on the market, right? So it's like, you have that too. But I just think it's so interesting to hear that all of this compounds into buyer behaviors and data that is at our fingertips that we can actually find and have and use to grow our businesses. So I'll let you start with what is the best way to use this, whether we jump into website optimization or not, or maybe describe what that is. And then I'll let you kind of tell me what are the best practices for agents to be able to use this stuff. And even if that involves, hiring somebody like your company.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And we're moving out of, the digital marketing space and really starting to focus on the development of highly disruptive technology, right? So that you can better leverage your time. That's about as much as I can say about that on today's call, but I can absolutely speak to, some of what the term that is used is omni-channel digital marketing, meaning there's a bunch of different pieces of the pie of how you can digitally market yourself. And oftentimes when we say digital marketing, it's like, oh yeah, I do social media and PPC. Like, there's a very, very small segment of what digital marketing can be in the real estate space. And we have clients that are billion-dollar companies, and some of the things that they're doing it's really shocking and phenomenal in a good way. So when I'm going to talk to you about just for a minute about what is omni-channel digital marketing, and then how you as the individual can start looking at your own business, with some key takeaways of, all the way down to your website. And then we'll talk a little bit about SEO. So when we look at omni-channel digital marketing, one of the most powerful tools out there that is often not used is remarketing and retargeting, right? So stay in front of the consumer, the home buyer or seller. And the reason it is so important is because some research showed that if somebody is going to register on a real estate website to buy or sell a home, they're going to register on 4 to 6 others in a 30-day period. Meaning, you're not special. Like, I hate to say it, but like it is an overpopulated industry, and it's incredibly hard to determine what your unique value proposition is when all you're showing them on the website is search for homes in or browse MLS in. Right. Why would they ever engage your brand when they can go do that on Zillow and Homeline, Trulia, and Redfin and all the other big players, right? So remarketing and retargeting is a way that you can stay relevant, top of mind when they're on Amazon at 3 a.m. searching for a pair of tube socks, that they can see your brand and be reminded, oh man, I need to go back to the website because I didn't register, or I need to check on the status of that home, okay? When we're talking remarketing and retargeting, cost for that is extremely low. It's a racket. I've seen programs that are spending $1,000 a month that get 250,000 impressions, 1,200 website clicks, and 6 leads in a 30-day period. right? Like massive branding opportunity because most real estate agents don't do it.
Right.
Right. Next is, the lead gen. So we've got to oftentimes put gas in the tank, right? And so those segments are typically Google and Facebook. A lot of the times they're market dependent though. Somebody tells you, oh, Facebook leads aren't good. BS. Facebook leads are great in some markets. In fact, they're far superior to Google leads in some markets because every market behaves differently. They're like children. They behave differently for no reason at all. Well, it's the demographic, it's the price points, it's the history of the region itself that influences the marketing strategies there. So we've got Google leads, we've got Facebook leads. And by the way, there's half a dozen different ways you can generate a Facebook lead, right? It can be with an encrypted list that we just talked about that we purchase and layer in. It can be with a downloadable asset like a buyer's guide or a seller's guide or 10 things you must know. It can be with a lead form, compelling imagery and copy. So don't get super narrow of, oh, I do digital marketing, I do PPC. Next is SEO. Right. So I am a firm believer because I've seen the volatility in the paid lead space, Sherri, of cost per lead and quality and quantity of leads fluctuate dramatically. And I look at SEO as a hedge against that because my goal, I don't want any of my clients ever paying for leads. You shouldn't have to.
Right.
You should rank organically for the terms that people care about. So they're coming to you month after month, registering organically from that traffic. And I'm going to give you some best practices to do that on the call today. Okay. And then after that, I mean, we get into actual website optimization of, are you giving the consumer what they're actually looking for? And this is where we've done some doctoral level research. We have data science PhDs that work with our company and do research in the space to prove what works, what doesn't, and why. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So
that's awesome. And omni-channel marketing. Everyone wrote that down. It is funny because a lot of people think they're doing that term again. Digital marketing sounds great. I think we all need to really hone in on a better understanding of these. I'm also interested in asking you, like, how important is it for an agent today to have a website, personal website separate from their companies to, and again, with ClickFunnels and other things that people are distracted by, and do people like to go to an agent page and then have to make decisions versus go somewhere and do one thing? Or can you incorporate landing pages with somebody's personal page? But like, is it still good to have your own website in today's world right now?
It's always my recommendation you need to talk to the brokerage owner. You need to make sure that, everybody's on the same page. And if you are going to create your own website, it's got to have some vital information on that. So the answer is yes. And if you look at the November statistics from the last NAR, I mean, it's like double-digit percentages of real estate professionals that don't have any website, not just an agent page, just not a website. Like, all they have is a business card and a pen in their pocket. Like, get with the program. That's kind
of the pen in the pocket. And you're right, though. That's the majority, like probably 80%.
It's crazy. And to me, it's shocking because it's like there is so much traffic and so much business that can be generated for free if you've just got a halfway decent website, properly set up Google Business Listing, GMB, Google Business Profile, right? Okay. And a tiny bit of marketing. You don't even need the marketing if you've got the appropriate amount of content and pages on your site to organically rank for the terms the consumer cares about, not what your CRM told you they care about. Okay, because those are often two different things.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And again, go ahead, Sherri.
Well, so what are some of the common mistakes you see agents make with their website?
Sure. I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory here. Okay. And just to confirm, we've got an hour, so we've got another half hour to talk, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you about one of our white papers that changed our lives. And so essentially we had a client come to us and say, hey, listen, I get 3 to 4 organic leads a month from my website. When they register on their own, they're giving me their personal information, name, email, phone number. They're the best freaking leads ever. I don't really have to pay for them because they're coming to me organically other than my website management fee or whatever that is. And how do I get more of those? So we looked at his site and it was very interesting. It was 100% buyer focused. There was not even a mention above the fold or a navigation button to go for sellers if I want to list my home. And so He wanted more listing leads. So after we did some research, we burned his website to the ground and we built a new one, completely different. And it was 100% seller focused, above the fold.
Yeah.
Now it had some vital conversion elements that I'll talk to you about here in a minute. But what happened was it's shocking. His conversion rate went up 400% in a 72-hour period from organic to lead. Right. So we tripled, quadrupled, quintupled his lead flow overnight organically for free, just by redesigning what was above the fold. And actually the rest of the content on the site came right after that. And this is what spurred us to go to our data team. We've got some serious big brain PhDs and say, guys, why is this? Like, figure it out. And I always say, I'm the dumbest guy in the company, right? I'm like, I hire way smarter than me. And to go research this stuff. And so they researched 15,000 data points, 30 different markets, 30 different websites. And what they found conclusively is that when people are looking to browse for homes, to just, look at the MLS, they don't care about you. They've been conditioned over the last 10 years to go to Zillow, Realtor, Redfin, Trulia, all the big box players that are dominating page 1 and 2 for buyer-focused terms. Right? Why would they go to an individual? Not only that, but good luck ranking against Zillow for a buyer-focused term in your market.
Exactly.
Exact opposite, Sherri, is true for sellers. And we looked at the actual search behavior. What are they typing into Google when they got to your site to convert it to a lead or not? And it was crazy. When somebody is looking to sell their home faster for more money, they are looking for you. They don't want to go to Zillow, but they can't find you because you're not giving them anything seller focused above the fold. It's all browse homes in. Zillow, go ahead.
Yeah, let me stop you right there. Above the fold, please. I know what it means. I don't think our audience does. Above the fold.
Yeah, so it's an old newspaper term. Before you had to unfold the newspaper itself, right? So, but that translated into web design. What loads on the screen before you're forcing me to scroll? What is the default, right? And that's where, if we have 3.4 seconds to capture somebody's information, deep breath in, deep breath out, before they bounce. If your website doesn't load in that amount of time, it's actually lower now. The Core Web Vitals update from Google, the last algorithm update, says you've got to load in under 2.5 seconds as your LCP, your largest contentful paint. That's the benchmark. Guess what? Most real estate websites don't make the cut. In fact, we do very deep 25-page digital audits for our clients, right? We look at their websites, their traffic, their keywords, their reviews, and their competitors' reviews. And a big piece of that is the speed of their site. I would say 3/4 don't make the cut. It's probably way worse than that, right? So that's what above the fold means. But going back to the seller focus, what's pretty crazy is that we then did that study and we broke out the numericals, and we found that a buyer-focused site typically converts organic traffic to lead like 3.32 to 0.36%, right? 1/3%. Okay. Blended, buyer and seller, hey, you can list or you can browse homes, it about triples. Okay, it goes to just over 1%. When you have 100% seller focus above the fold and your site loads in under 2.5 seconds and you have a strong value proposition, we're going to come back to that, then you typically convert at above 2%. That's a 460% increase from organic traffic to lead, just by changing what's on your website to meet the consumer where they are, instead of giving them exactly what all the billion-dollar players and all the other real estate agents are giving them, which is search for homes. That's not a value proposition.
Oh my God, this is so brilliant.
It's good. It's good. And it works. See, that's the thing. It works.
So spot on, though.
Yeah.
Everybody puts search first.
It's wrong. But why? Why is it wrong? And what we have found is if you go back and look at the breadcrumbs, everybody copied Zillow's model. Zillow came out and the CRMs were like, oh, that's what the consumer wants. We'll do that. And then each CRM copied their last CRM, right? And so it was this like waterfall of incorrectness. But who's it benefiting? Well, Zillow, Redfin, because they're sticking their finger in the dominoes, grabbing the transaction and saying, you can have this, but it's 35% of your commission. Right? Well, we know what just happened with Zillow.
Obviously. Not anymore.
Yeah. Well, and so that's where we have to look at the LTV, the lifetime value of your client. So when somebody is going to do a real estate transaction, NAR's research shows they're going to do 5 to 7 more real estate transactions in their life. So you need to control the relationship, not the transaction. And this is where people scramble things up in their brain. They're like, oh, I just want money, money, money. I'm going to just pay to get that check, opposed to doing what you do best and nurturing clients and being people, right? And then they're ready for that next transaction, or they invest in a property, or they've got a friend or a family, they're bringing them to you, opposed to you just being a ticket taker from Zillow or whoever else.
And the thing is their best client base, their database is the best CRM if they would just work it. And apparently, listen, I have a friend who said, agents would rather call a lead that they paid for than call the people they already know, right? And it's like, that is just, to me, it isn't a transaction. It's the life of that client. I'm here for you, all of your family members, your friends, your family, your neighbors. I want to be your realtor for life. And doing that is a lot easier. It doesn't cost any money. So it's great we're connected, because our coaching program does not tell people to buy leads. In fact, we actually save people more money by doing the right things, spending some money, but certainly not all of this. So tell us, so you said so much in that whole last section. I'm just like thrilled. When I see agents, and I love these websites, would do a little bit of not much coaching agents on what to put on their call to action buttons. Sure. My favorite websites right now in the last probably 18 months have been the ones where we say, I want to sell my home. I want to sell. And that is, again, you just said it's above the fold. No one has to scroll down. They're only going to see you. There's an attention span of nothing. And so when I see these pages that say, I want to sell, I'm like, yes, focus on the listing. So that, I hope people are realizing, I know I feel like I have to change my whole website because there's too much below the fold. You're helping me so much. But let me ask you, so when it comes to how do we convert leads through our website? Like, what are the things that, besides saying I want to sell, I want to buy, like you said, some that covered both buying and selling, are you advising everyone here to focus just on the listing side, and then if they want to search on their site, have that ability, but focus on the listing side on that first page?
I'm going to give you a qualified answer. It depends, right?
Okay.
So general best practices, if you want more seller leads, which if you do, then put seller content on your site above the fold before you make people hunt. If all you want is buyer leads, give them buyer information. If you want both, give them both. However, we got to go back to what you just said, as far as, I hate to say it, but every single real estate agent on the planet can get your home sold, right? That's what they're qualified to do. So you've got to even pull that back further and go back to marketing 101, which is, what is your unique value proposition? How are you different from the agent to your left and the agent from your right that has the same credentials as you? How do you differentiate yourself? You've got to ask yourself that question and have a serious conversation with yourself. And I had a conversation with a client, and he said, I don't have any, David. I've got kind of average production numbers. I haven't won any awards. I'm fairly new to the industry. What do I do? I said, perfect. You don't have any bad habits. So be funny, be personable. Guess what he put on his website? Says, we're real 100% of the time. We'll call you back 100% of the time. Right? And it was, and then just name, email, phone number, get your home sold faster for more money. That website converts like crazy because it's original. It's different. So questions to ask for your audience are, how many transactions have you done? And don't say transactions. How many families have you helped?
Right.
What awards have you won? What do you do for nonprofits, pro bono, to better your community? What's your average clear to close? Do you actually get homes sold faster for more money? What do you spend on marketing? How big is your team size? How fast are you growing? Any of these are better than browse MLS in, search for homes in, which is, I would hate to say it, probably at least 50% of the audience that's eventually going to hear this. Maybe not your coaching clients, but that's.
Yeah.
And that's where oftentimes, so that's the UVP piece, right? Unique value proposition. Now we're going to talk load time, okay? Your site has to load in 2.5 seconds or faster, or you're getting kicked off of page 1. That was Google's press release, right? When they did the Core Web Vitals update. You can Google this, GT metrics, okay, or Google Developer Speed Test. These are free tools where you can plug your website URL in and see how slow your site. Oh, it's terrifying. It's so, and that's
I love this,
right? And if your website, what you're looking for is LCP, largest contentful paint. If that is 2.5 seconds or slower, you don't meet the cut.
Largest CP. What is it?
Largest contentful paint. That's just a fancy term of what's been preloaded on the site to make it minimum viable utility functional, right? And you can look up the real definition. I'm paraphrasing.
And we're going to either gtmetrics.com
or just, and you can literally just Google GT, capital G, capital T, metrics, website speed test. It's just a simple URL.
It's going to tell us how fast your website loads.
And then it's also, if you want to view details down below, it will actually tell you, like, where's it snagging? And guess what, guys? A high-resolution video in your hero section on loop doesn't do anything for you. It slows your site down. It kicks you off of page 1. Clients do not care. It makes you feel good. But we build high-end custom WordPress websites that are built to perform and convert leads. This is not sales pitch by means. And we will not put a video. If they're like, hey,
that's a mistake that everyone's making.
Go somewhere else. Why? Because it's going to tank your performance and you're not going to generate leads and it's going to come back on us, in a year. So again, phone numbers are a big one. How many people don't have a clickable phone number above the fold on their site listing out the phone number? Why? Because 80+% of the traffic in the real estate space is on mobile. You're going to be reading that name off to, whoever's in the passenger seat, or you're going to be scribbling it down, because you're at a red light and you don't have time to call.
Responsive link, I can call right from, yes.
Yeah. And on your desktop. Like, you kidding me? How many times I click call from my desktop and I can just pull up that because I'm already in a text conversation and doing 3 other things, right? Because I am a millennial and that's how we operate. And that's going to be the meat of the bell curve of all of your consumers in the 10 coming years. Like, you need to meet them where they are. You're going to hear that as a recurring theme.
I love it.
Okay.
Tell us what does the term snag mean?
Oh, it's my own term of where it'll actually show you the timeline of what is being loaded on your site, where it's being loaded, and it will show you, hey, this asset is tanking the performance of your site. Fix it. And oftentimes what that is you've got some like interactive pop-up thing, or you've got some widget that's coming in, or some carousel high-res nonsense that some developer told you was a good idea that has zero experience in the real estate space, which we see all the time. So it will give
carousels, the big offender.
Well, there's a lot of big offenders. And one of the big offenders is what's being just thrown on your site because you were told it was good.
Exactly.
A lot. Like, if you saw some of our landing pages and squeeze pages and all full actual websites, they're built to perform and be sexy. They've got to do both. It doesn't help you if you've got a really badass, sexy site with a ton of content that's slower than molasses, because you're not going to meet the Core Web Vitals update. You're not going to meet the requirement for bounce rate and your consumers. And then you're left scratching your head. I spent all this money on a custom site.
This is exactly what I hear agents say.
Right. I got a CRM. I was told to go to so-and-so CRM. I was told to go to so-and-so, solution. And then they're left with the bag 6 months later and haven't done anything because they never even ran the test on the site. They didn't ask the deeper questions of what research have you done to determine what you're actually putting on the heroes page. They don't even bring up UVP. No, search for homes in. That's exactly what you should have above the fold. Give money, right? Like, not
yes. The way. And to me, this is like music to my ears, because all we coach agents on primarily is being a listing agent and getting listings and being an agent that controls the listing market. The buyers will come.
Absolutely.
So it's just, to me, it's like, duh.
Right.
And this is just so intelligent speak. I love this. This might be one of my most favorite interviews. So tell us more about website optimization now.
So there's tons of design methodology out there. There's tons of platforms out there. Do your own research. Spend 5 minutes and look at some websites. Google yourself. All right. Am I indexable? Am I being found? Am I appearing for anything, right? For sell home in, sell home fast in, sell home for most money, top rated realtor, top rated real estate agent, top rated real estate team. Am I showing up for any of them? Probably not, right? Probably not. And then you're wondering, why am I not getting seller leads? Well, that's where there's this constant balancing act. Do I do organic or do I pay for my leads? Or do I do neither and work on my sphere? And it's different for every business professional, right? I get it. Sometimes you need to pay for leads to feed your agents, to pay the bills. Awesome. I don't want you doing that long term. I want you ranking organically. What I mean by that is what people are doing on their own search behavior, and then you come up. Like, you can be on for every single term I just talked about. We have a ton of clients that already are, right? And through using AI in the SEO space. And that is, do you have any content on your site about, what you do differently, about your industry relationships, about the different communities, about what it's like to sell? Go ahead.
Which you just said. I wrote it all down. How many houses have you sold? What's your average market time? Your credentials, your awards that you've won, right? So these words, are these keywords?
Those are unique value proposition seeds. So for you to ask yourself the question, so I can get something on my website above the fold that people are going to see that isn't search for homes in. Just fell asleep, right? So what, right? But everything that I mentioned after that is you can create content on the different communities where you want to sell homes, what's happening in the market. One of the big fallacies in the marketplace in the real estate industry with respect to marketing is, I need a blog. Don't blog just to blog, because the algorithm update that happened 2 algorithm updates ago said, if your blog content isn't getting read, shared, and interacted with, you're not going to get the credit for it like you used to. Like, you used to be able to just write blogs and rank on page 1 for anything you wanted.
Okay.
In the system. You can't do that anymore. You have a fast site that people engage with and come back to, as well as compelling content. Because the current crawler is not just a program. It's a full-on AI robotic user that will go in and play with your site and read your content and then look at all the back-end analytics, and that's how you're getting rated. And if your site was built on desktop with the same, literally, I hate to say it, but one of the biggest CRMs out there, we analyzed 16 of their sites. They're literally copy-pasting blog content from one client to the next, copy-pasting. That is the cardinal sin in the SEO space. You will get de-indexed for everything for doing that. And they're doing it, damaging their clients because they do not give a crap, right? This is where actually looking at your site, looking at some of your competitors' sites, and then asking the hard questions. Am I different? Am I special? If so, get it on the site. One of the other big ones, Sherri, lead forms. So people are looking, what we said is they're going to register on a website. They're going to register on 4 to 6 others in a 30-day period. Well, give them the path of least resistance. Give them the easy button. Do not make them go to the contact page to scroll down on a slow site and then fill out 7 different fields.
Yes.
It's one of the dumbest things you can do. And what you should do is provide them the opportunity, if they want to do business with you, because you have a compelling value proposition and you're on page 1 for the terms they care about, give them a name, email, phone number, lead form above the fold. And I loved it. Your CTA, your call to action of, I want to sell now, boom. Or I want to get more money for my home, boom. And you can A/B test this stuff. Like, the digital environment is plastic. You can change it and see what works. And it's a moving target. So you have to be doing that unless you just got a website that's been the same for the last 5 years.
David, is it better to say I want to sell versus book appointment?
You tell me. It depends. It depends on every market. So how people interact with CTA buttons in Florida is very different from how they interact in California. And so we'll build something and then we're going to iterate based off of what the data tells us, not what I think and feel. Okay. Your emotions are completely irrelevant when it comes to the actual website design itself. Let the data tell you what works and what doesn't. Okay? Because the data doesn't lie. People do.
So, gosh, I feel like everybody, I don't want to say they got sold, but when I hear you say a lot of the CRM companies sort of modeled themselves after the big Z. Mm-hmm. And I used to always say, why are we always focusing only on buyers? Like, I don't want more buy. Like,
It's the greatest conspiracy of the modern age.
Oh my gosh. And this is just making me feel like I'm not crazy, because even at my former company, I just was like, why are we only focused on buyers all the time? But I digress. I mean, I had 750 agents in my territory.
Yeah.
And we ran a huge, the best, the number one privately owned company in the country. And they do great things. All I'm saying is, like, every company website, most of them are geared at also just, search. And if everyone is listening, please figure out what your unique value proposition is. I mean, value is, if you cannot articulate your value of why you are, and I use the term radically different. What is your radically differentiating value proposition that you do? Because everybody can throw a sign up and put it in the MLS, right? Yep. I just hung up with a guy that we're talking about. How do we hold commissions? Well, you have to communicate your value. And if you want to get new leads organically on your website or any of your marketing, you have to have a better and more unique value proposition that's you are in your own class. You know what I'm saying? So I love that. And I will say the forms, to your point of, like, hit the easy button, people, when you have their attention like that, again, right there, easy, click on the button. I don't have to find where it is. A confused mind, I'm pretty sure, does nothing and gets distracted, right, David, and goes off your website.
It does the opposite. It leaves a bad taste in their mouth, and they're never going to interact with your brand again. We see that all the time. You spend all this money on marketing, and then you drive somebody to a site that has no clickable phone number, no lead form, no value proposition. You're asking them to browse for homes, and they're like, WTF? Like, this is not suitable for that. Why would I do this? Right? But
I'm going to click next and go to somebody else.
Yeah.
And user functionality, all of that. So how does SEO help if I'm not going to do blogs, which probably a lot of people are like, thank God, because that's how it's back. But, like, how do I get to be number one? Like, should I have a video series on a YouTube channel that's getting me I'm doing the video. It's not on my website to slow it down, but I have SEO then at that point, search engine optimization, to be number one or number two on the page when someone does a search. So what are the best ways that an agent can maximize SEO on their websites?
Totally. Well, I got to back up. As far as the CRM piece is concerned, there's a couple of bad actors out there. And I think everybody listening knows who they are. But there's also some people that are doing really incredible stuff and trying to stay with the current trends. There are several of the CRMs that are really devoting resources to research and innovating and providing the client with better tools, and are putting out seller pages because they understand that's what people want. There are some really good actors out there in the CRM space that are doing God's work, okay? Like, we got to set that straight. But just do your own research, okay? For what you're asking about, the SEO piece is, not all blogging is bad. What I said is, don't blog just to blog.
Okay.
And we had a client who, he wrote a blog. This is not a joke. He wrote a blog every morning, Monday through Friday, for 11 years straight. He ranks number one in the world for real estate puns. He's not ranking for anything that he cares about or the consumer cares about. All that time, because he's not writing based off of keywords of what the consumers are looking for. Guys, and so when we're talking about search engine optimization, there's a bunch of different buckets, that go into the SEO space. But it's yes, creating content on your site and other sites, linking them together, providing beautiful descriptions and tags, peppering in keywords. Don't just jam pack, a bunch of keywords, because that gets full too. And there's tons of articles about how you can do this internally. You can get my information, and we can have a conversation about it if you'd like. And then us leveraging AI in that space to automate and create more in a shorter period of time. Okay, and that's a delicate dance. And so over time, what we're trying to do is get you to rank for primarily seller-focused terms that are relevant to your specific market. Not just rank 1 and 2, page 1 and 2. Like, there's another huge fallacy of, if you're not on page 1, you're crap. Sorry, that's not true. We have a ton of clients that are on page 2 that have tremendous lead flow, because everything on page 1 is $1 billion player or an ad, right?
Correct. Thank you.
Right? So That's the kind of the fundamentals of SEO. And, SEO can get expensive. It takes a lot of time and a skilled hand, but it is an investment strategy against not having to pay for leads every month of your life until you retire, if you're able to retire, because you're just doing everything on PPC. So that's the mentality there from an SEO perspective. There's one other thing that I do want to mention. I'm writing a book on the subject, on feedback cultivation in the real estate space. So I wrote a book on SEO, SEO for real estate agents in a hurry, that explains all of this stuff. Okay?
Awesome.
It actually explains, like in one of the chapters, how to beat Zillow organically for terms on page 1. Like literally just gives you the playbook. You can find that on our website. It's kind of buried. If you go to cast.services, you can download the first 3 free chapter if you go to the research and publication section in the top toolbar.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And where can they get the book?
You have to download it on the site. We actually keep you captive. You can only read the book on the site, right? SEO play, because dwell time's really good, right? When people.
What's the name of the book?
Yeah, SEO for real estate agents in a hurry.
Oh, okay, perfect. That's the name of it. And past services.
Past.services. I mean, it's pretty techy. So if you're like, right before bed, you'll go right to sleep.
Back at it.
Okay, so are you good if I pivot for 1 minute?
Please do. Yeah, this is you.
Guys, this is a passion of mine. Stop freaking asking your clients for reviews. It is a slap in the face when you ask a client for a review like they bought a cheeseburger. They just saved up their entire life to do business with you. It is going to be the largest transaction of their life. So take a minute and step back. How would you want to be treated if you just made a $500,000 purchase? Hey, can we get a review? No, you would want to know, hey, ask for feedback, open the conversation, and do so at points of maximum excitement during the transaction. Okay?
Yes.
There's a lot of human psychology and research behind this. I'm very far down the road of this book. We're 180 pages in of how to ask, when to ask, what to say, how to document, how to cross-pollinate. So I'm going to just give you a taste of something that you can try. You go do it on your own. What I always say is I'm going to give you plenty of information. You cherry pick what you like, flush the rest down the toilet. That's totally okay. If it makes you better, if it makes the industry better, we're all winning. Okay?
That's right.
With respect to feedback cultivation, I never use the R word until the very, very end of what I'm about to talk about. So what I do is I segment a transaction out. Let's say, because we're focusing on listings today, there are points of maximum excitement during that transaction. And Sherri, I'm sure you already know what they are. Home first gets listed. They can find it on Zillow. They get the first offer, even if it's not the offer. They get the offer and they're at the closing table. They've moved in, cashed in the bank, 30, 60, 90-day retrospective. Kids are in the new school. Everybody's hockey-dory. At every point of maximum excitement, you have the opportunity to just ask for feedback. Hey, Sherri, I know we just got your home listed. We got an offer for $5,000 over. It might not be the offer. Is there anything else that we could have done better for you and your family? Just let them talk, right? This is marketing 101. Just let them talk. And if they give you good feedback, that is when you want to ask for the review, because psychology dictates if somebody has already told you their feedback, it's ingrained in their mind and they are more apt to put their name to that and actually take action on it. Opposed to, hey, we're looking for some reviews because we want to get more Google stars or whatever. Can we get something? And you like slide something across the page. That's seriously the majority of real estate professionals in the country today.
That's
so
right.
If you step back and you ask for feedback, then have a premeditated destination of where you want that review to go. You're in control, not the client. Okay? As far as where you can drive it to Zillow, you can drive it to Google, you can drive it to Facebook, you can drive it to Yelp, you can drive it to all of them. It's really up to you. So that goes back to, where are you and where are you not online? How many reviews do you have on Facebook, on Google, Zillow, and Yelp? How many do your competitors have, your top competitors? And if you're lagging behind in Google, focus there. You can rotate through every quarter if you want. So the destination, the link on your headers and footers of your emails, your paperwork, your business cards, all can have that dynamic link that's driving the reviews there. Okay? So that you become in control. And then follow up. Just like you would treat a review, treat it like $1 million listing, because it'll probably get you one. Okay? Because
Love this.
Say they're going to give you a review and you gave them the link and everything, they don't. All you have to do is gently touch base to check in. How are things going? How many of you sell homes? They get in the new home and then, cool, we put them on email drip campaign. My job's done. Come on. Like, check-in, spend 5 minutes of your time. Hey, how are things going? Do you need any help with,
Oh my gosh.
or whatever? Also, we would just love to get your positive feedback on Google. We're going to send a link over via text and email. Boom, done. That's it. Okay. So honor your client by asking for feedback, then the review, and then do a little bit of research of where you want that to drive that review, and follow up on that. And then involve them in a private Facebook group of past clients and raving fans. Okay, invite them in, make it your own self-licking ice cream cone of content where they can come and ask for advice. When they've got friends and family, they can come in that group. You're doing movie ticket giveaways and happy hours, all that fun stuff.
Yep.
You can even do that as a single agent. Costs no money. No money.
That's right. That's right. And I first of all, I love that you added the psychological point of how we ask for. I have a degree in organizational behavior, and I study people, and it's probably why. I mean, people used to say, "How are you so good at real estate?" And I would say, I listen and respond to body language, tone of voice. I mean, when you listen to emotions on your clients, and I tell people, when you are at the closing table and you just bought a house, that's the best time to ask for feedback and referrals. Okay. So in the same breath, it's like, how could we have done? So is there anything else I can do for you? No. Great. How's the process been so far? Fabulous. Awesome. Oh, wonderful. Is there anyone that I can also help? Or wait, but you said it. These maximum points of excitement, which I've never called it that, but this is exactly right on. And it's like, that is, whether they list the house with you, you bring that first offer, you find them a house. If it's a buyer, they're so excited right in that moment. That's when to ask. That is totally when to ask. And I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. And I think too, you just said controlling where it goes, and, saying once they've said it out loud, now we're saying, hey, would it be okay? I'm going to send you a link to sort of memorialize this awesome.
I love that. That's a great way to say it.
because we're going to memorialize this awesome experience we just had with you, and you're such a valued client. And it's like, instead of saying, can I have a review? Because that's all you're good for. And then once they give you that review, send them something. I mean, send them a portable phone charger, okay, with your logo on it, real small.
Sure, but cross-pollinate it as well. So a review on Zillow, you can screenshot that, bring it over into a template, and throw that on LinkedIn and Facebook. Yep. Another 5-star review by crushing it. And
you just said what all these agents get totally hung up on, David, which is, well, they're only putting that link on this one, right? So you just said screenshot it. I mean, that's another screenshot it. Yeah. Zach taught me this. I was like, well, we only have reviews over here. He's like, I'm going to screenshot them all. And it's like,
totally.
Duh.
Yeah.
I never thought of the screenshot.
But doing it for your agents also, like, that is a huge retention, recruiting value proposition for a business leader of, hey, listen, I'm going to help you get reviews. I'm going to help you implement. I'm going to give you the best practices. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's who I want to work with.
That's right. That's right. And I think, how do you feel about, like, we've done some landing page development for agents that we get really good return on when we put a testimonial next to the form.
Yeah. So one of the very first questions when we're designing a high-end WordPress website, is we've got to get some testimonials on there. And there's plugins where we can actually just show and carousel through the most recent ones that are 5-star, or all of them. From Google or from other venues as well. But also just having a dynamic section of the happiest client, just having the latest one in there. Whoever's running your website, or your provider, that's table stakes. You've got to have that for instant credibility for that first 3.4 seconds. If you can get something like that on, and you can even use the number of reviews. There's a reason 100% of our reviews are 5-star. Well, you might have one review, but that's a pretty sexy UPP.
That's so awesome. And, we've coached some agents that are really into these landing pages to do. And because I think I was in the commercial printing industry my whole life. We had a family business in commercial printing. And then I was in marketing and everything. I don't really, I don't understand the stuff you're doing, but I know this: when I've got their attention on that form, and I'm doing the free giveaway of whatever value I'm giving, to, click here for a copy of the homebuyer guide, click here, right? And they go in and be enrolled in my exclusive homebuyer guide and program. When I have their attention, and tell me if this is good or bad,
Sure.
they filled out the form with 3 pieces of info: name, email address, or name, email, cell phone, maybe. Or I've been writing text.
Sure. Yeah.
It sounds better than cell phone. It doesn't sound like we're going to call them.
Yeah.
Then it says, I want to, and there's 4 boxes. And we put buy a home, sell my home, get a free pre-approval, and get a market analysis of my current home. And if they check all 4, it's a grand slam lead. And if they check just one of those, awesome. Either way, it's coming in. Sure. But is that okay, or is that too much?
No, totally. Well, you be the judge and look at conversion rate from organic traffic and direct traffic, right? So like an optimized website that loads quickly and has all the conversion elements should convert traffic, 2.5%, somewhere in that range, all the way up to 5. We've seen some in the teens. If you're not, maybe you're giving them too many options, right? Okay. But A/B test it. Take it away for a week, then put it back. What happens? What happens with lead flow? What happens with the quality of lead, right?
So how does somebody do SEO, or is this something they should hire someone to do? How do I, most agents don't know how to advertise digitally, their website or their anything. So how do they do that before we wrap up here? Because I know people are like, I want to do all this. I just don't know how.
Yeah, totally. So you can go to cast.services, and there's a lead form on every page of get in contact. You can fill out some information. We can get in touch with you. We do AI-driven SEO at a pretty high level. There's other providers out there at a lower price point. We don't get results as fast, and that's totally okay. You can absolutely do it on your own. It just takes a little bit of self-study and reading some articles about best practices, talking to an industry expert, getting plugged in, and starting to produce your own content pages, your own blogs. Link structure is totally doable.
Content pages. How many are too many? Or how many?
That's a loaded question that I'm not going to answer right now.
Okay.
because it
depends.
It depends, and in one instance, 20 a month is not a bad thing, and some it could be depending on what's going on there and the tempo.
Right. So Cast Services does provide top teams, small teams, mega brokerages, individual agents, and anyone who has a problem in need of a solution. I've read up on all of what you're doing. It's unbelievable. And you do have billion-dollar companies you work for. What would be the cost if somebody wanted to use your company, roughly, given, different size engagements or projects that you could do?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not always a good technology fit for the single agent because we are a premium price point because of the technology and research that we've got. So our AI-driven SEO programs are $2,500 a month. And then our custom websites, typically very seller focused, load very fast, built to perform, are start at $5,500, and we usually end very close to $5,500 unless you need like a ton of content, community pages and independent agent pages and everything like that.
I think that's actually very well priced, to be honest, at $5,500. I've seen agents pay $20,000 for something that is snagging and doesn't have.
Us too. Right? I think that's one of the top real estate teams in the entire country, and that's what they were running into. Ergo, how we got into the tech space. That was a big piece of it.
And I know your brother has had a huge team in real estate. You have real estate knowledge that you bring to the table, which I think is huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it. Where you find a lot of tech providers that don't. Hey, we just been in tech for a long time, and now we're coming into risk. Like, no, we've hired the agent. Yeah. Yeah,
you understand it. How many? What percentage of real estate companies or large teams, mega teams, do you work with? Is that a
We're in over 370 markets across the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah. So this is, everyone listening, you are hearing from literally the most knowledgeable people, consultants that know what they're talking about. And I'm so excited you spent your time with us today, because if you walked out of here, first of all, I took probably 4 pages of notes, just saying, and I can tell you that, take the time, do the metrics. It is spelled with an X. I think we were, the GT metrics.
I'll drop the link into, do I have a chat function in here? I do. Here. There you go. That's the URL.
Awesome. All right, cool. And we're going to drop that in again before this ends. And to answer some questions about whether this is recorded, it is. Mm-hmm. This interview and all of my interviews are made into a podcast episode with You Rock, the real estate podcast that I have. My millennials named it that because I've been saying that for about 25 years. I'm probably the only 51-year-old that can still say You Rock, and it's actually works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hysterical. But I love, let's re-engineer the way we're doing things, folks. Let's not keep doing what everybody else is doing. Your unique value proposition and what you do best has to be out front and leading what you're doing in terms of marketing. Secondly, we want you, every smart listing, every smart real estate agent who has a big business is a listing agent. Look at every top agent, right? They list, they control the market. Listings give you more ability. You can work with 3 listings, every 1 buyer. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Why list instead of work with buyers? 1 listing can bring you 3 to 5 more sales. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And so let's take a look at your websites. Let's take a look at what you're putting out there and take some advice. Watch this again. I know I'm going to have to because because it was so jam-packed with so much great stuff. Will you be on our show again?
Sure.
Awesome. I would love to.
Yeah, it's all about education. Like, we want to make the industry better.
Gosh, this is well, and you know what? I think too, for those of you out there, I have a few clients that I want you to work with, especially some mega teams. Their GCIs are over 3 million. They need this. Any of you going to scale your team, you need this. You need to look at what CRM you're using and whether this is built on, what you said, the trickle down of this is what everybody's doing. We're just going to keep following. Yeah. Now, I think you can radically differentiate yourself by taking what David has said today and start making those. I mean, these are easy changes, a lot of them on the website you currently have, regardless of how big you are as a team or individual. If you are looking for help, how can we get a hold of you? Just at cast.services?
Go to the website, fill out the form. Yeah.
Awesome.
If you've got questions that you want answered between now and when I come back, I can get involved and provide some of that for you, right? Because it's all data-backed stuff. We're not just making things up. And
that's what's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we will. I mean, I'm wondering if people are, asking, if you have any questions right now, feel free to put them into the comments.
Yes.
I know a lot of people are going to watch this after it's been done today live. Mm-hmm. So definitely, if you have questions for David, for us, you can put them in the comments, even if you're watching this on Facebook at a later date after you're watching the playback of it. Or you can just email us, or you can go to his website and look for more information at cast.services. And David, I'm just thrilled I got to meet you and learn all of this. And now you're kind of in our system here and in our environment. We're just thrilled to have you. Zach said, he set you up, and I can tell every week we've got just somebody bringing more and more great content to our listeners. We have one that says that, do you work with a single agent? And Beatrice, thank you for that question. Go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, we do. I've actually got to jump for another podcast here in 1 minute. But yes, we do work with single agents. Some of our services aren't a good price point fit for single agents, but we definitely will always open to have that conversation for sure.
Well, and I appreciate your time. We're going to have you back again. Everyone's saying great comments and thanks for everything.
You're welcome.
You rock. We'll see you soon. Have a great weekend. And everybody go check out You Rock with Sherri Johnson podcast. We've got over 5,000 downloads and more. We'll be back next Friday. David, I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bud?
All right. Have a great Friday.
Everybody. Bye-bye.